on to the next topic. I'm looking at the AP Top 20, and we're going to concentrate on the AP Top 12 because that's what's most important now. Since we're in the 13th week of the season, I think it's really imperative that we talk about how these teams are going to match up against each other. So once again, Oregon is sitting atop all by itself, but Oregon is more than likely, if Michigan doesn't bump Ohio State this coming weekend, Oregon is going to have to play Ohio State in Indianapolis for the Big Ten championship.
I think that'll be a great matchup.
That's going to be a great matchup because Oregon slipped past Ohio State in Oregon maybe about 3 weeks ago. And what happened with that is Ohio State, to me, ran out of time. I mean, I looked at it as they ran out of time. They quarterback on the last play of the game. He didn't throw it to the end zone like he should have. He threw it to, short of the end zone, and the time had already expired. So I think that got beyond him, but it'll be a different outcome this time. I'm pretty sure that Ohio State is going to show up ready to play, ready to show up and show out against Oregon. No, pun intended against Oregon, because Oregon is a legitimate contender. Oregon is a very solid team, and their record shows. Their record shows that they're a solid team. But on the flip side of that, when you have to play a team like Ohio State again, I don't know if Ohio State gonna just come in there and try and drop another one like that. Yeah. I just don't see it.
Usually
I don't see it that way.
Around is something else, boy.
Exactly. That second time always usually does a trick.
Yeah.
So let's just say if Michigan thump Ohio State, it'll be Indiana more than likely against Oregon. And I think Oregon can handle Indiana. Not taking any credit away from Indiana, because I'm not going to discredit any of these teams that's in this top 12, because they've all earned it. So I want to make sure that I put that out there to let people know. Right here, the most alarming one that I was troubled by was Alabama against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
How did Alabama, being in a position, because they controlled their own destiny too, how did they let this slip away?
We just spoke about it. We just spoke about it. They came in there nonchalantly. This is not a Nick Saban's team anymore. Nick Saban wouldn't have been having that. I'm telling you, this was a team that came in there, played around. They took those guys lightly, and they got their top clean. Man, they couldn't get nothing together. They came in there thinking that they was going to just steamroll Oklahoma. Oklahoma had something for their rear ends, man. And I mean, they just was taking it to them. And Alabama was shocked. And that's what happened when you fool around and think that you're going to steamroll a team, because their record shows that they're not that good. But boy, sometimes they get up for you, and that's their rival. I don't know why in the world they took them lightly, man. You're going to always have a team that's pumped up for you when there's a rival team. And that's what happened. They went home with their tails between their legs. Like, what?
That is an embarrassment, actually, to be honest with you, because Alabama, they've been so impressive the last 2 weeks, the way they played, especially Jalen Milroe, the quarterback. I mean, he was Superman 2 weeks in a row almost, And to see them go to Oklahoma and get shut down like that, to me, it's embarrassing, because it looks like Oklahoma, I'm reading some of the stats right here, Oklahoma outgained them like by 189 yards. And it looks as though, and Alabama didn't even score at all. I mean, they didn't score a touchdown. They got shut out literally with touchdowns. They scored 3 points. They had a field goal for 3 points. But it looks like Milroe was 11 for 26 for 164 yards, but 3 interceptions. So 3 interceptions right there.
Man,
that's a big number. That number magnifies versus what he did on the field.
They took the week off. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
They took the week off.
So as far as rushing, and you look at the past few weeks, Milroe had 15 attempts for 7 yards yesterday against Oklahoma. So I think what Oklahoma's strategy was to key on Milroe and keep him from running
Yeah.
You know,
he was running up
because
and
he's
down.
technically a running back with a quarterback's arm.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. So as far as Oklahoma's ground game, and Oklahoma had rushing. One of their running backs rushed 26 attempts for 134 yards. And the other running back, which name was Robertson, 17 attempts for 104 yards. So that tells you everything right there that, you know, that sums up the game for Alabama.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's an embarrassment. And I'll just say this. I like Kalen DeBoer. And I think he's a wonderful coach. He's a great offensive mind, but he's going to have that. He's going to have that team ready to play next year. And I'm talking about consistency wise. They can't just show up, win a game, a couple of games big, and then turn around and get thumped by Oklahoma at Oklahoma. You know, and Oklahoma just joined the SEC conference. Technically, Oklahoma and Texas. They just joined the SEC conference, and the SEC conference being the conference that it is, and Oklahoma and Texas came from the Big 12.
Yeah.
You know, and it no pun intended from the Big 12, but I'll just say this, to have two teams show up and be able to play at the level that they're playing at in the SEC speaks volumes about Texas's team and Oklahoma, which they're not right now. The Sooners is 6-5. So that's really kind of it's not a successful year from them either.
No point. They're not.
Yes.
They're not taking that too well. And they got a tradition of winning. And for 6-5, you usually get you fired over there.
It could. I mean, I don't think he's in trouble now.
Nah, it's early.
But
it's early still, but they're not going to tolerate that. They're not going to continue to have a season like that. You got to stay put.
Brent Venables, who's Oklahoma's coach, he's a good defensive mind. The dude coached Clemson to all of those championship teams on defense. I mean, you remember Clemson's defense was, man, they were nasty, bro, when it came to making plays and making tackles and shutting teams down when he was there. And when he left, you could see the difference with Clemson's team versus when Venables was there. So he's got to bring that same type of magic on the offensive side to Oklahoma. And I think what happened was Dylan Gabriel, who was the quarterback at Oklahoma last year, he transferred to Oregon. So I think he moved to Oregon for the NIL situation contract. He had a better opportunity for NIL at Oregon more so than Oklahoma, I'm assuming, because he left.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have left if things would have been right. So moving on, that game stuck out the most to me, and that's why I wanted to talk about that game. So it looks like the conference championships can be a trap for a lot of teams, because if you go to these conference championships and you lose them, you might fall out of the top 12. That could be a possibility. Like Georgia is going to end up playing Texas in the SEC championship now, because Georgia ended up, since Mississippi lost, Georgia was catapulted back into the running for the SEC championship. So it's going to be interesting to see if Texas can get that handle on Georgia's home field, because they're playing at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Yeah. I mean, which is technically Georgia's home field.
You've reached the end of another episode of the DC Stewart Sports Talk Podcast. Be sure to connect with us at Facebook and Twitter.com. Your voice is important, so head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Catch our next episode.